What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. Today, I want to discuss this Saturday's main event, UFC 314. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly and help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it, we got Alexander Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopes for the featherweight strap in a fight that has a lot of people talking. Is it Diego Lopes's time? Is Alexander Volkanovski past his prime, which somewhat seems to be. I mean, he's coming off of two devastating losses, the knockout loss to Islam Makhachev in their rematch, and then most recently when he got knocked out by Ilia Topuria. People are starting to wonder, 36 years old, he's been through some crazy wars, the 3-4 fights with Max Holloway, you had the Brian Ortega matchup. I mean, he's had some fucking wars, and he's put some guys out as well. And who's just been there and done that and has been on top for so long. We've seen it through the times of champions and passing the torches. These up-and-comers, they develop game plans for the guy who's been at top for so long. Once Silva was at the top for so long. George St. Pierre were at top for so long. These guys started to develop game plans. Dominic Cruz, like Cody Garbrandt, like the entire team alpha male, like they were pretty much like their entire pursuit was to dethrone Dominic Cruz. So to see the evolution of the featherweight division play out almost in the sense of because of the dominance of Alexander Volkanovski is pretty cool to see. And to see the rise of Diego Lopes too in his own right, riding a 5-fight win streak, 6 fights within the UFC. He started out on his debut fighting Movsar Evlev to a decision loss, but took that guy. Probably Movsar's toughest fight to date, aside from his fight with Aljamain Sterling. But here you got a lot of questions, because you got Diego, who is this marching forward, explosive, dynamic, fights awkward, doesn't really throw anything that makes sense. He's not the most technical guy, but always still seems to find the target. His gas tank somewhat is a bit of a question, and I think that can play into Alexander Volkanovski's favor. And yes, Diego Lopes is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but we saw in the Ortega fight that, yes, he's a black belt, but it was kind of limited. It just goes to show how good Ortega is as well, maybe. But he wasn't, even after hurting Ortega, dropping Ortega, he was not able to make that statement, submission victory, right? And here against Volkanovski, who is probably doubting himself a little bit, I'm curious to see what type of training camp he's been in, because I don't know, man. You see these champions, once they get to a certain point, it's they got one foot in, one foot out the door for the most part. And I'm curious to see how Volk looks coming back. And Diego works so well moving forward, getting his opponent off of their back foot, chin up, which is a habit that we've seen Volkanovski do when he is off of his back foot, especially most recently in his fight with Ilia Topuria. Throughout that fight, Ilia was crushing him with those leg kicks, but you saw Volk retreating a lot of that fight, going off of his back leg, lateral movements, but also keeping his chin up as he was kind of doing that, which is kind of how he got caught in that pocket in that corner and got hit with that, it was like right hook or like right overhand in those close quarters and got the finish victory for Ilia Topuria. So I can see the same thing for Diego Lopes, where just lots of forward pressure, explosive movements, getting Volkanovski in a reactive state off of his back foot, moving laterally again like he did with Ilia, maybe getting caught with a knee up the middle, a flying knee, or just something really explosive and unpredictable that we might not even see coming, maybe even like an elbow or of some sorts. That's where I can see Diego going out there and finding a quick finish first 2 rounds, right? But I think if he doesn't get that, and if he does act as explosive as he normally does early on in the fight, we can see Alexander Volkanovski take over, midway through the 3rd round and on. Because Volk, he's a machine. That guy does not stop. He's a little Energizer bunny. His cardio is something. His athleticism, his explosiveness, his cardio, his power that he brings down to 145. the guy has a lot of attributes. The biggest question mark here in this fight is, is he just, his age, his chin durability, and his confidence might be the biggest factor that plays into the result here against Diego Lopes. And with Diego, on a 5-fight win streak, all the confidence in the world, explosive, 30 years old, might not even be in his prime yet. So I'm really, really curious to see how this fight plays out. I love seeing all the memes where it shows all the bettors like picking against Volkanovski because they know like it's like they're betting against their heart, right? And that's usually what I find myself. It's like my brain versus my heart every single time, almost every single matchup. It's like, well, I know who's gonna win, but do I want them to win? And you know what? I feel like as a fan, you always kind of gotta ride the guy, not for. you have to have the back of just whoever you're the bigger fan of, unless you're somebody who's suggesting on what somebody should bet on, right? But, in this, I just hope for a good fight. I'm curious to see if Volkanovski still has it, and I think Diego Lopes is the perfect opponent to test that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this main event. Do you guys have Diego Lopes, or do you guys have Alexander Volkanovski? Or do you guys not care and just want a really good fight like me? I just want to see who the better fighter is at this moment, and to be honest, I don't really care. It's funny to see, too, like, Volk was a guy that everybody like did not want as champion. Like Max was our champion, and then he became somebody that we just loved in our own right as we saw Max having success outside of the title world. And now that we see, like, it was such a short-lived love for Volkanovski during his long title reign. All right, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.